What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Midstate 48, driven by Miracle Auto Group. We're getting you ready for week number 4 here in the Nashville-area and around Middle Tennessee. As usual, gang with you, Chris Brooks, Joe Spears, Cam Reed, Scott Burton. Gentlemen, good evening.
Yo.
Good afternoon.
5 o'clock somewhere, right, Cam?
That's right.
There you go.
In honor of the late, great Jimmy Buffett.
That's right.
There you go.
We a quarter of the way through the regular season, and it doesn't feel like it should be that way, but here we are in September, and we've got some undefeated teams to talk about tonight. I think I counted 22 of them in this area, in our coverage area, that are 2-0 or 3-0. So should be a nice little discussion there in the second segment. Let's look back to last week for just a moment. Joe, let's start with you and give you one more chance to give a final thought about last week before we move on.
Scott and I were at Brentwood, Hendersonville. Thought it might be kind of a close game with how Hendersonville's offense has kind of operated the first 2 weeks of the season, averaging 50.5 points. They just dominated Brentwood, coming off a really emotional win over Brentwood Academy, and it wasn't close. Brentwood started off kind of slow. Once they found their footing on their second drive, they just took over. Brentwood kind of showed to me that they are complete in every single phase. It's not just offensively. You got Baylor Hayes, and he's going to be a standout quarterback this year in the area and the state, honestly. But they had a lot of weapons offensively, and then defensively, they had a lot of weapons there that really shut down Hendersonville's offense. And then special teams, a lot of great punts, a lot of great kickoffs. They showed me that they are a force to be reckoned with in 6A, and I think they're going to be right there in the mix come near the end of the season.
Scott, since you were over there with him, why don't you get your take on that Brentwood game too?
Well, it was it was amazing how fully rounded Brentwood is. I mean, every phase of the game, as Joe said. They just dominated the line of scrimmage, which I thought that we might see a little bit more of a push out of the Hendersonville offensive line, but they never really could get a lot of stuff going there. Brentwood, just complete team in that particular game, really, really performed very well.
Cam, you were watching some other games this past week. Let's get your thoughts on week 3.
Yeah, the big storyline for me really is bounce backs. A lot of teams that maybe started 0-2 that we did not expect. Lipscomb Academy, Brentwood Academy, and they bounced back in a big way in week 3 and really took control of their games early on, scored a lot of points. So it was a huge opportunity for those bounce back weeks. Another thing that caught my attention was some of these teams that may have went into week 3 1-1, or some of them even 0-2 as well. A team like Independence, going against a Centennial team, a matchup to where I thought Centennial would win by a couple scores, and they wound up having to score late, come back from being down 14 in the first half to send it to overtime, and before Reed, ultimately capped it off for him, but. We're still kind of figuring things out here early on in the season, but it was a big bounce back opportunity in week 3 for several teams across the Midstate.
As we talked about, the first couple of weeks, a couple of teams pulled off some surprises in week number 3, and we'll get to one of those here in a little bit. Don't want to spoil it for everybody, but let's kind of shift gears and talk about week 4. No, I will be over at Father Ryan for the Fighting Irish against Brentwood Academy, which should be a fun little quarterback duel between George McIntyre and JoJo Crump. And she'll talk about this one for a minute because these two can throw it around the yard pretty well, and Brentwood Academy is starting to find their stride a bit. So kind of good timing for them.
Yeah, I mean Brentwood Academy last week just a great game against Christian Brothers. It really got things going. George McIntyre had a huge game. TT Hill had a couple big plays. Kind of a bad week for Father Ryan to be taking on Brentwood Academy. I mean, they're coming off their first win. Father Ryan had the week off last week. I think if you like points, this is the game for you. I think both these teams can score at will. JoJo Crump, he's having himself a good year. We'll talk about predictions in a bit, but I think this is a fun D2 AAA matchup, and just a lot of points I think are going to be scored on Friday night.
Scott, you're going to draw this assignment with me on Friday, so what do you want to see out of this one this week?
Well, what I'd really like to see out of this game is just some consistent play out of the Brentwood Academy. I'd like to see the Eagles see if they can right the ship a little bit and have see what kind of game they can get out of the running game, take some of that pressure off of their quarterback. Father Ryan. I want to see how they attack the passing offense, how they fare against that with all those weapons that Brentwood Academy has.
Yeah, to me, it's really about two stories here. The offensive weapons outside of the quarterbacks. TT Hill and Shavar Young for Brentwood Academy, and then the receiver that's going to Indiana for Father Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about that matchup and more so about the defenses of both teams. Father Ryan's defense really underrated through the first 3 weeks of the season, not giving up a lot of points. And offensively, they've been able to put it up. JoJo Crump both ways, running and passing, is a dynamic quarterback. And having a chance to talk to him last year, at the end of last year, I actually had a Tennessee Volunteers game. He was hungry to get into this season, his senior year, and start, getting some revenge on some of these teams. They knew that they had some opportunities last year and let it slip up. And they're a hungry football team, and they're going to have their hands cut out though with a Brentwood Academy team that has seemed to right the ship in week 3.
Yeah, you talk about the connection from JoJo Crump to Charlie Becker, and that's kind of one of the underrated quarterback receiver duos in this area. Get a chance to look at them up close and personal Friday night, and that has the potential to be a wild game if the defenses can't slow those quarterbacks and receiver tandems down. So probably one of our fun games around the Midstate this coming Friday. Joe, you'll be over at Green Hill, little Wilson County action with them and Wilson Central.
Yeah, it should be a really fun one. 2 undefeated teams. Personally, I love going to Green Hill. I've been there several times over the last couple of years. Great people. I always seem to have a fun game out there. You got former coordinator for Green Hill going to Wilson Central. He's now their head coach. Kind of a homecoming for him. Should be a fun game. It's really could determine who is at the top of that region come at the end of the season. Looking for a lot of points. Green Hill's put up a lot of points these first couple weeks. Wilson Central's beat up on some teams, and I think it should be a really fun and close game.
Yeah, I think that Ben Kuhn has done a phenomenal job with Wilson Central. This will be a first really good, solid test of his defense. Green Hill has the ability with Burrows throwing the ball to light up the scoreboard. Wilson Central's done a pretty good job, limiting. I think the first 3 games, the most they've given up was like 20 points, and I think they gave up 14, then had a shutout. It'll be really interesting to see how that defense responds against not only one of the better teams in Wilson County, but also, a crosstown rival.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one because you do have 2 teams that maybe nobody really expected to be undefeated here in week 4 of the season. Green Hill having to replace so many seniors, and you lose a talent like Caleb Carver. But man, what a job Cannon Burrows has been able to do through the first 3 weeks of the season. Actually I know Green Hill's only been a school for 4 years, but set the Green Hill passing record last Friday night with 282 yards through the air. But as Joe said, Green Hill always treats us great over there. Christian Capozzi, shout out Christian, and athletic director EJ Wood. They always treat us top class, and we appreciate that. But man, what an opportunity for Coach Kuhn in the Wildcat program. They're another team that we seem to say, well, maybe next year. He's got to build the program, but here they are 3-0 and a chance to go on the road and get a huge region win.
Yeah, it's a couple of those teams that are in that 3-0 category through 3 weeks, and we'll talk about them a little bit more in the next segment. It's funny you should mention Mr. Burrows, because that's a good segue to our Players of the Week nominees. So without further ado, let's bring up those finalists for the Miracle Auto Group Players of the Week, starting with our individual players. And Canyon Burrows, top of that list, and a big performance in that win at Summit. Mitchell Carey from DCA, Mike Hassel from FRA, Justice Law from Stratford, Donnie Morris from Oakland, Cam Shields from James Lawson, Keyshawn Tarleton from Pearl Cone, and Eli Wilson from Middle Tennessee Christian. That's a loaded list, guys.
It was a very impressive week and a lot of really deserving performances.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, and we're just going to go ahead and reveal them all at once. And Canyon Burrows got the fan vote, but it's going to be Cam Shields from James Lawson. He only had about 5% of the fan vote, and honestly, I thought he should have got a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had a big game last week. James Lawson, one of those surprise teams so far this year. I mean, they're 3-0. He's been a huge part of it, especially last week against Stratford. It was hard for me not to pick against him.
Yeah, the big thing for me, I did pick Burrows, but ultimately you look at winners and you look at guys where their teams had to have it. And Cam Shields fits that boat as well. 5 touchdowns in a game that they won 49-34. So definitely deserving. But shout out to Canyon Burrows again for breaking that Green Hill school record and having 5 touchdowns himself in a 41-35 win over Summit.
This was a really tough decision. These were the two that it came down to, but at the end of the day, as Cam said, I just felt like in his game, big time players, really show up. I thought Cam did that for his team in a game that, I mean, Canyon Burrows did that as well. But in this case, they really loaded him down and rode him to victory. And I thought for that, he should be rewarded.
If anybody wants a guy to be mad at, you can be mad at me, because I obviously was the tie-breaking vote here. I could have easily given it to both Burrows and Shields, but that would have been a bit of a cop-out. Burrows had a fantastic game at Summit. I just think that the way this James Lawson team has started, Shields has been such a big part of that, and he was a massive part of that game Thursday night against Stratford. And it was hard for me to really decide between the two, but at the end of the day, I want to go with Shields. And for that reason, it's Cam Shields, who is our Miracle Auto Group Player of the Week from James Lawson High School. And I'll be swinging by there either early next week to deliver some hardware for those guys. So congratulations to Cam. But we're not done. Line of the Week presented by Miracle Auto Group, and it comes down to these 5 lines, actually. Brentwood's defense in that dominant win over Hendersonville. FRA defense, Middle Tennessee Christian's offense, Nolensville's defense, and Rossview's defense. And this one, folks, was not close. It was Brentwood's defense getting the large part of that fan vote, 64.2%. And the Bruins, they handled Hendersonville, and they're going to be handling some hardware from us as well. So congratulations to Brentwood, as they have taken the Line of the Week award for week 3. And again, our Players of the Week are brought to you by Miracle Auto Group up there in Gallatin. Make sure you go check them out. All right, before we go any further, Scott, we have a little more business to tend to, and I want you to handle this one because you've had a pretty good little feel for what we got going on here with a young up-and-coming artist in the area.
Absolutely. This is Savannah Campbell. Savannah is a friend of the show. She has a album release coming up on September 15th at the Palace Theater in Gallatin, Tennessee. You guys really should go out and see her. Check out her website at savannahcampbellmusic.com. You'll get an idea of what her music's about and what she's about. Really fantastic young artist. My understanding is, aside from this, she's also going to be playing the when Gallatin has their festival on the square. I think she'll also be playing there too. But if you get a chance, get out to the Palace Theater and go check out young Savannah Campbell. Again, friend of the show, great family, great kid, and great artist.
All right. Y'all make sure to get up there to Gallatin to check out Miss Campbell's music. And let's go to a quick break and hear from Miracle Auto Group.
Ford Blue Advantage money back guarantee. Buy a Ford Blue Advantage used vehicle at Miracle Ford in Gallatin. Drive it for up to 14 days. If you don't like it, bring it back for a full refund. Plus, get 24/7 roadside assistance. Offer applies to any make and any model eligible for the Ford Blue Advantage program.
Want to sell your vehicle? We'll buy it outright. Greater than NADA book value. No requirements to buy from us. We'll buy from you.
All right.
Yeah,
thanks
go buy
to-
a car from them.
Yep. If my car keeps breaking down, I may have to.
I was talking to you.
I was trying not to listen, Scott. You know how I am. Well, folks, you liked it so much that we decided to bring it back for another week. We were better in our picks this past week, but we felt like we still owed some apologies. I'm not sure who to start with this time, though.
Not me.
Scott says no. Oh, okay.
I'll go first.
Joe's going to volunteer, so the drill. Pick a number between 1 and 4, and
Give me 3.
he wants 3. All right, floor's yours.
My apology this week is to BGA. I wasn't alone in picking against BGA last week, just saying. But I did pick against them. They played Nashville Christian. I thought Nashville Christian was going to cruise to a win. I know BGA has had a great start to the year, but I looked at last year. Nashville Christian won that game 31-7. The Eagles still looking for a win. Thought it was bound to happen. I was wrong. I'm very sorry. Very sorry, BGA. Already surpassed last year's win total, and I'm a fool. I am a fool. Just wanted to say I'm sorry, and good luck this week against Davidson Academy.
That felt really heartfelt, Joe. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going last because I have a reason for going last. And I'll explain that in a minute. But Scott, I'm gonna nominate you. You're going next.
Okay.
1, 2, or 3.
2.
All right. It's all yours.
Esel Harding, I am so sorry. Who knew eagles could fly so high? I doubted you. I'll admit I did. I thought that that you just weren't ready yet for that next step, and you proved me wrong. You're on a 2-game winning streak, and I am terribly sorry that I underestimated you. Again, I have no excuse. I was a fool, and I heartfelt apologies to you.
All right. Let that music play just a little bit longer because I don't know. It just felt right. All right, Cam. 1 or 2?
2.
All right. You're up.
This week, my apology has to go to the Patriots. For those of you that seen our staff picks this week, unfortunately, I'm not referring to my Oakland pick as I am claiming insanity with that pick. But I have to apologize to the Patriots. I was the lone member of our staff to pick Franklin last week. Page coming off of a disappointing loss to Independence. I thought that Franklin could finally get a win. Page, it took a little bit, but you finally got it in gear in the second half. won that game soundly. And for that, I apologize and good luck the rest of the season.
Right.
I felt that.
Yeah, I felt that too. All right, my turn. All right, Antioch, it's just us now. I owe you 2 apologies. One, for not having the guts to take you last week, even though the first 2 weeks we up and said, thought you guys would win a game sometime this season. We just didn't know it would be last week. 22-game losing streak on. Big region victory over Cambridge. Check that box too. Actually, was supposed to be over there last Thursday night, but some things conspired to keep me from it. So that's apology number 2. I'm sorry I didn't get to see it in person. That must have been some heck of a celebration, guys. You got a lot of things in front of you. Your region is actually there for yours to take. Yeah, you've got some tough non-region games, but Evan Arnold has set that schedule up for a reason. It's made you better because of it. Already proven it once. I think more wins are in your future. So, congratulations. And I'm honestly and truly sorry, and I think I can say for everybody on this panel, you guys deserve it this week. Good luck in Oakland and good luck in this region because good things can head your way.
For what it's worth, I wanted to pick Antioch last week, and I just didn't.
Yeah.
And we will back up what we said on Saturday. If you like these apologies and you want your team to get an apology, do not beg for the apology.
Thank you. Thank you, because I can guarantee it will not happen.
And most importantly, if you're going to beg for an apology, your team better take care of business on
Bingo.
Friday night.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You all had to eat some crow this week, too. I'm not going to mention any names, but you know who you are. You know who you are. All right. Let's talk about the teams who have won every week so far. We don't have to apologize to these teams very much, but they've earned their right to be on this screen. They're either 2-0 in Father Ryan's case or 3-0, as is the case for everybody else on this list. There are 22 such teams that are unbeaten entering week 4. And you can see that on your screen, guys. And I posed a question to y'all earlier today about a team that you thought could run the table in the regular season and finish 10-0. And just maybe talk a little bit about why you think so. And I'm going to start, Scott, with you. I feel like it.
I could take the easy way out and say that Brentwood is who I would look at, but let's change it around a little bit. I want to look a little bit at Friendship Christian. I think that they are much better than a lot of people anticipated this year. They have a huge game coming up with Middle Tennessee Christian. The winner of that game, I think, actually runs the table and does go 10-0. And I think at this point, that's anybody's game. But I really like the way this Friendship Christian offense is performing. Luke Sellers at quarterback is really doing well. He's really coming of age. And, of course, Tyson Walcott on both sides of the ball, very, very tough. I think that they're a team that I would look for. True, they have big tests, but most of these teams that are undefeated do have big tests. But I think they're one of the teams that you could watch that very well could go 10-0.
Now let's bring this back in here just real quick, because one of the teams that Friendship is going to have to go through before this thing's over is Middle Tennessee Christian. And in fact, those two teams are going to tangle in 2 weeks in what could be a region championship game. So they could very well be unbeaten when they face each other. And this has traditionally been an end of the year game, but now it's been moved to the mid-season. So yeah, I kind of agree, Scott. That's Friendship Christian has a very good chance to do it, but they do have a giant hurdle facing him in just a couple weeks' time. Yeah,
I think in 2 weeks, I think you're right, Chris. I think that game is going to the one that wins that game has the inside track.
All right, Cam, I'm going to let you have the next one. Who are you going with?
Yeah, the next one for me, Similar to Friendship Christian, this is a team that has one really noticeable game left on their schedule, and that will be a toss-up game. As the team that they would be playing in that game is also an undefeated team. I'm gonna go with East Nashville, a team that we knew were going to be competitive, but I don't know if we thought that they would be as dominant as they have been up to this point. And that's a testament to what Coach Harris has been able to continue that Coach Stewart built there at East Nashville. Their rushing attack just seems to be on another level than anyone else at their, at 3A, at the 3A level. That game here in a few weeks against FRA will determine which one of those teams gets their first loss, in my opinion, and which one of those teams has a legitimate shot at going undefeated. And then I'll throw in a little bonus kind of a team to watch would be Mount Juliet, a team that maybe has already beaten the team that's going to finish second in their region last week, maybe. And the schedule is definitely favorable for the Golden Bears to maybe end up at 10-0 as well.
All right. Yeah, that East Nashville FRA game, guess when it is. It's in 2 weeks' time as well. Folks, I'm going to go ahead and warn you, Week 6 is loaded with really good football games on that schedule, so make sure that you're ready to go a couple weeks' time to go to a game Friday night because there's a bunch of good ones. Joe, I want to get yours next.
There were a couple teams that really stood out to me. I looked at Brentwood. I looked at Pearl Cone. One team that I don't think we've talked a lot about, though, Clarksville. I think Clarksville's in a very, very good spot to run the table heading to the postseason undefeated. The schedule's, it's theirs for the taking. They've dominated these first 3 weeks. I think they are in a good position to have a huge game on Friday. The Kirkwood game in a few weeks could feature a pair of 2 undefeated teams up in Montgomery County. I think just Clarksville's in a really good spot. How far they go in the postseason, that's anybody's guess. But regular season wise, and when it comes to that region, I'm not sure who tests them. So I'll go with Clarksville.
Yeah, that's certainly one of those that I've thought about for sure. Mine is going to be Pearl Cone, and with an honorable mention to Stewart's Creek, because I believe we've talked about Antioch in that region. Stewart's Creek right now is the favorite in that region to win it if something else doesn't happen, because they've got Cane Ridge has been a little bit down, Smyrna's a little bit down. Antioch is on the upswing, and that game, and I think it's in a couple weeks' time as well, could be honestly for a region title, as wild as that sounds in 2023. But Pearl Cone is through the hardest 2 games of its schedule with NBA and CPA to start the year. They got out of there, played very well defensively, 121-14 at NBA, 115-11 at CPA. They finally get to come back home this week on their new turf and play Pier Academy before they tackle the rest of the region. This is a region that does not have a ton of stiff challenges ahead of it. Their 2 toughest region games right now in my mind are White House and Marshall County, and they are both in the last 2 weeks of the season at Pearl Cone, a difficult place to win. They are on a mission. They have a heavy chip on their shoulder after what happened in the championship game last year. And as long as they can keep chugging along and don't have any major injuries, there's no reason why the Firebirds can't go 10-0.
Yeah, I agree with that, Chris. I think that it's really out there for them to do that. I also, one of the ones I'm looking at was also East Robertson. That, of course, they've got that Smith County game that looms out there, and but that's another. I think that's another region where it's going to come down to one game, and then the winner of that game is going to end up, has a really good chance of running the table, going 10-0. I like East Robertson, to continue to build on what they've got. They've just got the horses to do it, I think.
Here's a little plot twist for you. Which one of these teams do y'all think is the most surprising?
Kirkwood. I think Kirkwood or James Lawson, just being a first-year program, it's tough. You got to get these kids to buy in, and I think the coaching staffs for both teams really have. I I just think that, when you start off the season the way both teams have, and I know they both have tough games coming up. Kirkwood, I think they go undefeated until they play Clarksville. And James Lawson, huge game against Centennial this week. But for me, it's those two just because they're first year programs.
I want to stop for just a moment because we got a comment on YouTube. Wesley says y'all owe BGA an apology.
He tuned in. He tuned in a little bit late.
A little bit late. So if you
tune in to Instagram later, we'll have it up.
Yeah, you can go back after the show's over and watch it.
Yeah, rewatch this.
Yeah, we got you covered. Yeah, no, it's an impressive list. It's going to shrink quite a bit because some of these teams play each other within the next 3 weeks. So we'll take a look at this at the first of next month and see how many of these teams are still left standing with 0 in that loss column.
Last thing on Pearl Cone, I think if those kids keep their heads, if they stay level-headed, they take care of business, play clean football, not only do I think they go undefeated during the regular season, the path to Chattanooga is wide open for them. You look out west, nobody real impressive. And Haywood's lost a lot. I still think that Haywood team is decent, but they would have to travel to Pearl. So Pearl,
all the competition's out east.
Yep,
every bit of it.
Yeah, it's a region where in Region 5, if you win the region, you don't have to go anywhere in the playoffs until the championship game. So
you're playing Pearl on that new turf. Speed.
Good luck.
That's a great point, and that's going to be very interesting to see what effect that has on that offense. Does it supercharge it?
Well, what it's going to do is it's going to have people looking for Adam Sandler with remote control to freeze.
Oh my goodness! Also, yeah, props to Wesley. Turn on those notifications. Yeah, when we got a show that goes live, make sure you know when it's coming on so you don't miss anything. So, Appreciate you, Wesley. Appreciate you for watching and hanging out with us. All right, before the fun starts with our picks for this week, let's hear one more thing from our proud sponsors at Miracle Auto Group.
Stop dreaming and start driving.
Buy a new 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee or Jeep Grand Cherokee L and get $6,924 off MSRP and no payments for 90 days at Miracle Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Gallatin. And get powertrain warranty for as long as you own your vehicle and VIP benefits. Make this the summer event at Miracle Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Gallatin.
Are you ready for a miracle?
All right, get your picks here. It's time for you got. Boys and girls, not a bad week 3 across the board. Give yourselves a hand, fans, because you got one on us this time.
Yep,
8-2. So a 4-way tie atop the top of this show, which is kind of wild considering sometimes we get a little scattered with these picks.
Look at Cam all the way down there. What's going on there, man?
Wow.
Hey, I've got my insanity out, so I think I'm okay.
His hiccups are behind him, he says. So let's see if that is indeed the case. Let's look at our overall picks through 3 weeks as well. And Joe was still holding a shallow lead, 3 games, but we're all within 5, so don't get too confident up there, my friend.
Too late.
Also, by the way, no told you so's this week on any level. I don't think we've ever seen that.
Wow. Yeah, that was wild.
One.
Reggie didn't have one? Oh, no, that was on the other. Okay.
No, he did not. So let's dive into it. We'll start with BGA Davidson Academy, and the fans are all in on the Bears, 64.4%. And as a matter of fact, so are we.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, Wesley.
I know. I apologize to BGA. I just think this Davidson Academy team, they're clicking. I know they start off slow last week against Portland. They got things going in the second half. They turned a lot of miscues into points. Knox Roberts is having an incredible year so far. This game being at Davidson Academy, it's going to be tough. That's a hard place to play. I think the Bears keep on rolling, but I do think this is a close game. This BGA team is vastly improved from last year.
Yeah, one thing that I think a lot of people, including myself, was not aware of was Glenn Seabrooks has kind of been under the weather with an injury through the first couple of weeks of the season. He appears to be getting back healthy, which is going to be a huge problem for opponents, as he is a true game changer. I just like the offense that Davidson Academy has been able to produce in the first few weeks, so I like the Bears.
Yeah, to be where they are with that, Seabrook's largely producing is big.
Yeah, I mean, well, Thomas Porter, the defensive coordinator over there, has got that defense playing very, very well, despite the absence of his main weapon. But yeah, I think this was going to be a close game. Truthfully, it was the fact that Davis Academy is at home that really pushed it over for me.
Yeah, it's a tough place to go up there in Goodlettsville and win up there in BGA. I don't know if there'd be apologies to BGA if they pull off this upset, but we may just go visit them next
Depends
week.
on who. Depends on who else I screw up.
Yeah, you might get to do that one in person.
Never can.
There you
tell.
go. Yeah, there you go. Centennial, James Lawson. It's a region game for these two teams, both unbeaten, but one of them will not be after Friday night. And we are all in agreement on the Cougars to keep the train running. 87.5% of the fans are going with Centennial. Guys, let's talk about this one for a minute. Lawson's had a fantastic start, but now they get to the meat of their schedule.
It's real simple to me. With performances like what he's done to this point, Dominic Reed is going to be a Mr. Football finalist. Pure and simple. And that's why I picked Centennial in this game. That and a little bit of a depth factor with James Lawson being a new school. But I like Centennial to win this one.
Centennial faced some adversity for the first time last week. Down 16-2 at the half. They overcome it. Dominic Reed is by far the best player James Lawson will have faced this year. I think Jamal Stewart has the Cougars rolling, and I think this is a big bounce-back win for him. I don't think James Lawson's going to go down quietly, though. I think Centennial's going to have a fight on their hand, but Cougars are just too deep, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's nothing against James Lawson here, but this is an offense that's running at a very, very high level. Running, passing, everything. I think that James Lawson stays with them for a while, but I think eventually that running game just wears them down.
Yeah, I have to agree with all that. Fun fact about this one, and then if somebody can prove me wrong, I would appreciate that. I think there's been a safety in every James Lawson game so far this year.
Interesting.
Just throwing out that nugget.
So,
but we're all on Centennial this week over James Lawson in that key region game out there in Bellevue. FR8, Good Pasture. All right, Reggie's taking Good Pasture and cats. It's a cat fight here, so I don't really know. Panthers and Cougars, I'm not real sure. Maybe he signed with the Cougars here for sure. We're all with the Panthers, so talk to me about it, guys. So Scott, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think in this particular one is just I think FRA's running game is just too stout. I think that Good Pasture is going to be good sooner than later, but they are still awfully young. I think that FRA's offense is just clicking. I just like them to win at this one.
Yeah, I mean, we know about Ty Clark and the season he's had. Last week, FRA really didn't need him. I think he may have been banged up a little bit, but last week was Mike Hassel, who took up the charge, rushed for almost 130 yards and 4 touchdowns. This FRA team is deep, especially when it comes to running the ball, and I think they just got so many guys, and they're starting off the year on a hot note.
Yeah, ditto. One thing that I will add is Good Pasture is definitely on its way, guys. I mean, when you have the sheer number of players that they have that's coming out for their team, Coach Cotton's doing a great job with that program, and they'll be back to the glory days before you know it. They could keep this one a little bit closer than what most think, but at the end of the day, I just think it's too much FRA.
Yeah, if you look at the games we're picking this week, you can see this middle region in D2 AA. At the top and in the middle, it's starting to really kind of come together and be a fun little group. And this is kind of what we thought it should be. But then with the resurgence of Good Pasture and BGA, making this region tougher than it has been in recent years overall.
There's not a bad team in this region. I mean,
No.
I think all these teams are going to finish at 500 or just above it. So
Henry County, Brentwood, and pretty much a consensus on the Bruins keeping the train rolling. 87.5% of the fans are on with Brentwood, and the 5 of us are in agreement as well. Henry County, we're going to kind of see the gap between the best in 6A and the best in 5A right here. That's kind of the one thing that I'm looking for in this one. I want to see if Henry County can keep pace with Brentwood. Just the way Brentwood's done it the first 3 weeks. Kind of a lot of balance, very strong defense, and good special teams. They've done it in all 3 phases of the game, and it's hard to beat a team when they're excelling in all 3 phases of the game like Brentwood has so far.
Henry County a couple weeks ago hosts Riverdale and picks up the 1-point win. That's a huge win over a 6A team. However, they got to travel to Brentwood. Brentwood's homecoming is this week. There's a lot of things favoring Brentwood. I think this will be a much closer game than Brentwood played last week. I think this Henry County team, like always, they're deep. They got a lot of talented guys, but I just think Brentwood, for me, right now they're top of 6A, for me at least, and I think they pick up another win this week.
Yeah, I think the show goes on.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Scott. That's pretty much all I had to say.
Oh, I was just no. I mean, Henry County, they've been playing well, but I think when we talked to Baylor Hayes last week, the way he talked, it was all about his line. It was all about the players around him. This is a team that's not playing with a sense of entitlement. They're playing with what seems to be a really team-oriented focus. This team is really, really playing for each other. It seems like, just from what I gather, teams like that are hard to beat, and they are coming together. You hear Coach Finch talk, and you listen to him, and you understand that this is a program. This is a culture that he's building out there. And I find it very difficult for Henry County to come into Brentwood, especially on their homecoming, and come out of there with a win.
Yep. Lipscomb Academy at Baylor. We had a little bit to talk about in this one because we got some news yesterday that may change some folks' minds about it. But the fans went with Lipscomb Academy 66.4%, and Cam, you did as well. The rest of us are on Baylor.
I'm a person that I guess I can blame my parents. This is the way I was raised. When I make a decision on something, I try to stick with it, and I picked Lipscomb to win this region in the regular season. Definitely think the defense is still good enough to do that, 100%. If I knew Deuce Scott was not a factor, I probably would have picked Baylor. But at the end of the day, defense wins championships, and Lipscomb's got the better defense, in my opinion.
Yeah, Lipscomb's got the better defense, but you're playing at Baylor down on the river. Long trip. I know they picked up a win last week. No Deuce Knight. You're bringing in a new quarterback to go down to Chattanooga. Amari Jefferson versus Caleb Beasley is going to be exciting. Oh my gosh, that's going to be such a fun game. Whit Muschamp has proven himself as one of the best quarterbacks in the entire state. Right now, I know Macaulay's undefeated. I still think Baylor right now would be my favorite in D2 AAA. I don't think this is going to be an ugly game by any means. I just don't know if Lipscomb has the offense to keep up with Baylor's high-powered offense while they're down there. If it was at Lipscomb Academy, I might be picking different, but this is tough, man.
It is tough to go down there and win. One thing I will add that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about Lipscomb having to go to a different quarterback, this kid was going to start up until the week before the Jamboree, essentially, when Deuce Knight transferred. So I'm still okay with Lipscomb. But to cover my ground, okay, I did pick Baylor to win the state championship as well. So
there you go.
It was a tough pick, and when you got two teams of this caliber, it is difficult. When you start going into the minutia of trying to figure out who's got the edge here and where. What basically came down to it for me was stability, and Baylor has stability at the quarterback position. Lipscomb does not, even though they have an experienced backup there. it's just there's a difference. There's going to be a difference. There's going to be an adjustment, maybe even how small. But I think that giving that uncertainty, that's what led me to pick Baylor.
Yeah, I made my pick before Deuce Knight's news dropped yesterday, and they're going down there with a quarterback who is making his first start, regardless of which one it is, and that's going to be tough in that environment against arguably still the favorite in D2 AAA. Yeah, I think the defense keeps this thing close. I don't think Baylor can get this one stretched out beyond maybe 7 to 10 points, maybe 14 at most. But I think Lipscomb can stay in it long enough to make it respectable. But ultimately, I landed on Baylor this week. NBA and CPA, 78.9% of the fans are with the Lions. Scott's taking NBA. So, floor's yours.
Well, I looked at, seeing how NBA did. Yeah, offensively they are challenged. They are. But they have been playing some outstanding defense. And I just feel like that they are one or two fortunate plays from getting into the win column. I'm thinking that this week may be the week. I could be wrong. I could be sitting here apologizing to the Lions next week, and but I just, for some reason, this game kind of jumped out at me as a game that NBA might come out of there with a win.
Yeah, I think you'll be apologizing to the Lions next week, Scott. I just think CPA on both sides of the ball significantly better than NBA. I know they're really good defensively, but I just think CPA got it going last week. Their offense put up 48, 49 against Pope. I know Pope not on their level. I think they kind of keep it going this week. It's at home. It's hard to win at CPA. I know Pearl's done it. Not a lot of teams do it. Just ask Oakland last year. And home field advantage, everything clicking. CPA trying to run the table now. Yeah, CPA by a few scores for me.
I'll go CPA 21-10. I think this is going to be low scoring. NBA's defense is good enough to keep them in this football game. But ultimately, I don't know if I can pick against NBA against the quality. I don't know if I can pick NBA in a matchup like this against a quality opponent until their offense shows me that they can score.
Yeah, Scott, I think you may need to call up Engel Barton and offer him some barbecue or something, because I'm not sure NBA can find the end zone more than once in this game, and that's going to be a problem. If they can't get to 17 or 20 points, they can't win this game. I don't think they can. It's CPA is going to have some momentum. They've gotten some things going offensively, and that's a little hard to stop. And given that home field advantage, I think it's 28-10 CPA.
I mean, it very well could be, and likely might be, but for some reason, I just felt compelled to make this pick. Yeah, I'll owe Engel some banana pudding if I'm wrong, and I'll move on with it.
I respect you sticking to your guns, Scott.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, he not only gave a reason, he doubled down on it. So
There we go.
No arguments there. Rockville at Stewart's Creek. Close fan vote here, 54.9% on Stewart's Creek this week. And then the rest of us are siding with the Red Hawks as well, who are trying to stay unbeaten. Rockville has been kind of, they've been right there in games and could easily be unbeaten right now.
They could easily. Played a tough schedule. I mean, a couple of one-possession losses to start the year. I just think the Stewart's Creek team, man, they're finding ways to win. They got a high-powered offense. They're really clicking on all cylinders. This is a must-win game, I think, for Rockville before they really get into region play. They got to find some momentum as they enter that. I know they have Riverdale coming up as well. You got to find some momentum in entering that game. But I just think Stewart's Creek at home, again, too much. They got the playmakers to win this game.
Man, Kenny Jordan is the name for Stewart's Creek, a kid that has transferred in from Pulaski Academy. None of us expected him to be here. We knew Stewart's Creek was going to be improved this year, but none of us expected him to be there, and he's ultimately been a game changer for him. And whenever Otay gets back and gets 100% healthy from his ankle injury, this offense is going to be a sight to see, especially rushing the football. Ultimately, I just think that they outscore Rockville. Sorry, Gregor.
I think the secret to the Stewart's Creek lies in its offensive line. Otay's been out; they haven't missed a beat running the ball, and I think that's a testament to Coach Caudill and his offensive line coaching. I think that I think this is a close game. I think it's a game that Stewart's Creek's going to have to show up and play. But I think ultimately they end up wearing it down.
Rockville has been right there in a number of games so far, and it wouldn't shock me at all if they come out of here with a win. They do have the playmakers, especially on defense, to do it. But man, the way Kenny Jordan's run the ball for Stewart's Creek so far, it's been one of the better stories of the area so far in the first 3 weeks of the year.
Yep.
Smith County and Macon County, we were kind of split on this one. The fans sided with the Owls, barely 56.7%. Joe's going with Smith County, and the rest of us are on the homestanding Tigers. Now, we all know what Matt Dyer likes to do with these picks. He likes to motivate his team if we don't pick the Owls. So I'm going to preemptively say this. If the Owls win, you're welcome.
I got you, Coach. I got you, Coach Dyer.
But guys, let's discuss it, because this is a game from last year. Like it was week 9 or 10, I believe. Macon County should have won this game and would have won the region had they won this game due to tiebreakers, but they didn't, and now they've got a sour taste in their mouth from that one.
Yes, a non-region game that cost them a region championship last year. This one's already a big rivalry, but ultimately, when Macon County looks and sees we had to go on the road last year, it didn't just cost them to finish second. They had to go on the road. Wound up losing to East Hamilton team, Gay Borders. Joe, you said it last week. You thought it was going to be the Gay Borders show. They tried that against Upperman, but ultimately, I think they learned from last week. They realized that they have more weapons than just Gabe, and that will open things up for Gabe. I don't think this is a super high-scoring game, 21-14 type game, but I believe Macon County is good enough defensively to try to make the freshmen beat them, and I'm not for sure if he can do that yet.
Cam, I agree with you. I think that the key to this game to me is the three-headed monsters that Macon County has in their backfield. You got more than just Gabe Borders out there. So you're going to be able to run some misdirection, things like that, where you're not going to have to run directly at those big bodies up front. I think that Macon County also has the lead in the intangibles, the special teams, and the defensive backs also, like you said, Cam. I think that we could see a pick or two out there. And mainly the reason I picked Macon County is because Matt Dyer accused me of pushing the net into oncoming traffic and got her knee tore up. So,
you've been saving that one. Oh.
He said, Matt, blame yourself.
The first words out of his mouth when we started carting a nut off the field was, "I saw you push her." And then he got the referee to back him up.
So here's my thing. Smith County scored a lot of points last week. Gave up a lot of points last week. They ain't going to be happy about that. They got Macon County coming to town, and everybody's picking them to lose, or they're going to Macon County. Sorry, look, it's been a long day. They're going to Macon County. Everybody's probably picking them to lose because of what happened last year. I know they got a young quarterback, but I know that defense is going to rebound. I think the Owls are very good. I also want to see an undefeated Smith County take on an undefeated East Robertson here in a couple weeks. That was a big reason why I picked this. Look, Smith County for me. I'll take them. I don't even care. I don't care that you guys picked against them. The fans and I, we know what we're talking about. We're going to get this pick right. Go Owls.
Well,
Guaranteed, Matt, if you win this game, you'll get an apology next week.
Joe's auditioning to be the actual bulletin board speech before the
I
game.
think Joe's angling for going to that Smith County East Robertson game in a couple of weeks. Where you guys,
Joe,
at?
have you been to the
Yeah.
hole?
I have not. No.
I know that game's at East Robertson in a couple of weeks, but you definitely have to go to the hole.
I
Yeah.
might. I will. I will eventually if
Yeah.
I get this pick right. If not, we'll
think-
see.
If you keep picking them, Coach Dyer might bring you in and give you special treatment.
There
Right.
we go.
You might get a chance later this year. All kidding aside, though, I do think that this is a pretty evenly matched game across the
Yep.
board. And really, it just leans on home field advantage for me, which is worth more than 1.5 points, I think, honestly. It's worth like 3 or 4. I think had Macon County not lost to Upperman last week, I might be more excited to side with Smith County. But it's a little bad taste in their mouth from a couple of reasons. And I think that this is going to be a focused and motivated Macon County team that comes out and does just enough to get a win against a very good Smith County team. And no, I will not apologize to Smith County if they win this game because it's too close for me to do that. So I'm calling that.
Are you
right
sure it's
now.
not because you're a Macon County graduate?
I'm not. We're not talking about that.
Go Owls.
I've known Matt Dyer for years, and he knows how we operate. So we're not worried about all that. We got to keep going. Wilson Central at Green Hill, the game that Joe, you'll be actually over there in Mount Juliet this week. We're all going with Green Hill. The fans at 73.1%, all with the Hawks. The 4 of us have the Hawks. Reggie's going contrarian. He's going with Wilson Central, as is his MO with the Cats.
Gotta love Reggie.
I have no. By the way, I have no say in that. I mean, it is a treat here and a treat there with their logos. He picks them. Okay, he knows what he's. But he just asked Pearl Cone. He knows what he's doing.
He has his own shtick, though. I mean, he sticks with his own. He sticks with his own kind, though.
He does. I mean, that's been something. But this is, we talked about this game a little bit earlier. Talked about these teams a little bit earlier. I think this really has a chance to be a good game. I think, as I said, got 2 really good coaches in this game going at it, and that know each other very, very well. You got kids from, just a couple of miles, separate them. They know each other pretty doggone well. A lot of bragging rights on the line. This is one of those games where you just can't look at it and say, this, Green Hill should run away with this, or, Wilson Central should run away. That stuff doesn't matter when you got a crosstown rivalry. And I think this is going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight. But I do think Green Hill has, that their quarterback, I think, makes all the difference in the world. Burrows, I think he makes all the difference in the world in this game.
That's kind of how I was leading. I think they got the quarterback advantage. I know Wilson Central, this is going to be their biggest defensive test of the year so far. If they can come out and win this game, or they can keep it really close, this is a statement for Wilson Central going forward. I just think this game, Green Hill's the established team right now. They've had, I know last year kind of a down year for them, but the year before they had a great year. This year they're off to a great start. They had a really close win last week. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere up on the hill on Friday night, and got the Hawks coming out. Sorry, Reggie.
Yeah. So, and this one, it ultimately, if you look at both teams' opponents, pretty similar. Other than one opponent, I thought Summit is probably the best team either team has played, and Green Hill was able to win that game last week, 41-35. A couple of things to note: Coach Crouch actually faked a punt in that game to get momentum. So he's willing to do, him being an experienced head coach over Ben Coon, he may have a couple bags, tricks in the bag to pull out to get a win here. But a name that nobody talks about at Green Hill, and Coach Crouch is going to love me for this because I hype him up on social media too, but Nico Duffy, great linebacker for Green Hill. He's actually went over to the offensive side of the ball, playing some running back for him. He's actually the one that threw the pass on the fake punt last week. So definitely finding a way to get it done in all areas. But Nico Duffy's a name to watch for Green Hill.
Yeah, Joe, you mentioned something poignant right there, that Green Hill being the established program. It kind of speaks to what they've built over there in just 4 short years. But, yeah, we're all on Green Hill except for Reggie. He's staying with the Cats and taking the Wildcats in this one. So let's see how that Wilson County rivalry sorts itself out this week. And on to our last one, our Spotlight Series game, Brentwood Academy at Father Ryan. 75% of the fans on with the Eagles. The four of us are taking Brentwood Academy. Let's talk about this one before we reveal Reggie's pick, though.
Yeah, I think Brentwood Academy finally picking up a win last week after a couple of heartbreaking losses to start the year. I think by a total of four or 5 points between those losses. But hey, Father Ryan, they're no slouch. I just think, I know we say it every week, George McIntyre, he's the difference here. I mean, there's a reason he's a top 20 player in the entire country for the 2025 class. I think JoJo Crump, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. I think he's going to go step for step with George. I just think Brentwood Academy's got more weapons maybe. Charlie Becker, I think, is going to have a big game, but I think the Eagles got their win, and I think they're about to go on a little bit of a roll now.
Yeah, for me, it really comes down to, we talked about the defense. I talked about the defenses on each side. I believe Brentwood Academy's defense is a little bit more proven at this point with who they've played, playing a Brentwood team that's proven to be, maybe the best in 6A, and playing a team like CPA that's, they're really good defensively, but they've also shown that they can put up points, scoring nearly 50 last week. Father Ryan has yet to play an offense to this caliber, and I think that could be worrisome for the Fighting Irish fans. But I will shout out to JoJo Crump and his parents. I had a chance to meet them last year. Great folks, and they are watchers of 615 Prep, so we thank you guys for watching. No hard feelings at all picking this game. Just think Brentwood Academy is just a little bit of a step ahead at this moment.
Cam starting his apologies early. Tamari Hill. I think Tamari Hill is the difference in this game. I think that both teams have great quarterbacks. Both teams have great receivers, and they both have defensive backfields that can make plays. So I look at it as Tamari Hill's game. If he can be effective, I think Brentwood Academy wins this game, and I think he will.
I think special teams makes the difference here. I think BA's got one of the, if not the best kicker in the state in London Baronis. And if he can put enough kickoffs in the end zone to make Father Ryan drive the length of the field, that's just going to make their job that much tougher. You don't want to give teams short fields, especially with the amount of firepower Father Ryan can possess. But ultimately, if they've got to go 80 yards every time, it's a little tougher on them. And I think Brentwood Academy's defense is finding its footing. But I do expect a lot of points in this game. I think we can get into the 30s. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a shootout.
Yep. Let's be honest, Chris. I mean, you're talking about how good of a kicker he is. Before the Titans traded for Nick Folk, he could have started for the Titans.
He probably could have, honestly. And yeah, he bombed enough kickoffs when we were over there in week one that he certainly got our attention for sure. Hey, Reggie, who you got?
What will it be? Will it be Father Ryan or Brentwood Academy? He's being a little bit of a... There he goes, right to it. Your winner, Brentwood Academy.
You wanted to say something else, didn't you?
Yeah, he was being a lot of a diva. The more he does this, the more he realizes that he's on camera. Luckily, I brought home the not a sponsor, McDonald's, for him tonight, his favorite. So he couldn't resist the cheeseburgers.
Yeah. Just playing to the camera. That's all he's doing. All right, let's recap real quick. Davidson Academy gets all of our picks this week over BGA. Centennial the same over James Lawson. Reggie's got Good Pasture over FRA. The rest of us are on the Panthers. We've all got Brentwood over Henry County. Cam and the fans take Lipscomb Academy over Baylor. The rest of us have the Red Raiders. Scott's going with NBA over CPA, while the rest of us have the Lions. We're all on Stewart's Creek over Rockvale. The fans and Joe actually have Smith County. Actually, yep. And the rest of us have Macon County. Have small print. I had to kind of read a little bit for a second. It's getting old. Yeah, I'll have to figure that out for next week. Reggie's got Wilson Central over Green Hill. The rest of us are on the Hawks, and we've all got Brentwood Academy over Father Ryan, and that's starting to hurt my eyes. So I'm gonna get it off the screen. All right, guys. So before we get out of here, let's got one more final word for us.
Yeah, I'll start. Follow all social media accounts, guys. We've broadened the horizons this year with Joe doing a great job with our Instagram account. That's where you'll see the I'm sorry cuts. That's where you'll see our rankings every week. Another reason to follow is we will actually we're on the verge here coming up here shortly of doing our first ever giveaway with 615 Preps. So pay attention to social medias for that one as we'll be doing a giveaway here shortly.
Oh, my turn. We still have several openings for sponsors, and remember, we are a sponsor-driven program, service, whatever you want to call us, morons. And we are, so we don't do paywalls. We don't. What you see is the work of our 6 people, 7 people behind the scenes, and no AI, no anything else. It's us. But we are sponsor driven, so we are looking for sponsors for Iron Brigade. We are looking for sponsors for Blue Cross Bowl. We're looking for sponsors for Game of the Week. We can make any sponsorship work, any budget work. Just give us a shout out on any of our social media, or it's 615preps@gmail.com. We'll get in touch with you. Again, we appreciate you, as Cam said, pointing, clicking, subscribing, telling other people. But we also thank our sponsors, and we are open for more.
Yeah, big thing from Scott there. Sponsorships are big. We do this because we love high school football here in the Midstate. Kind of like what Cam said. If you're not following us on Instagram, what are you doing? Come on, guys. For real though, we've experienced a lot of growth there. Make sure you're following it on YouTube. We're closing on 1,000 followers there. Instagram, we're up almost 1,000 followers since the start of the season. Let's get to 4,000 total and just continue to grow. Follow us on all of our platforms, and let's go enjoy what should be a really fun week 4.
Sounds like everything went smoothly this week as far as our connections with social media went, and we added Twitch as another way to watch these shows as well, and maybe experiment over there with some things, with some gaming and stuff here in the next few weeks. You never know. Just depends on how much free time we have, but it's been a fun show, and hopefully the weather should be pretty darn nice Friday night. Low humidity, low 80s at kickoff. Can't beat that stuff. No Thursday games to speak of around here, so I can watch the Lions in peace. I'm looking forward to that.
Go Lions.
That's right.
You're not going to watch them in peace. Are you kidding me? You're going to be climbing the walls.
He's going to be biting some kneecaps.
That's right. It is kneecap biting season. We all know it. Shout out to Dan Campbell. But
my money's on Braves.
Fun show, guys. It's going to be a good week. And thanks to everybody who has been hopping on with us and watching this Midstate 48 driven by Miracle Auto Group. We're back at 9 o'clock Saturday morning with the scoreboard show to recap all the scores and highlights and of the games we cover. And we'll go see about it. That's all the damage we can do for a week. So for Scott, for Cam, for Joe, for Reggie, for Dan Campbell, and for everybody in One Pride Nation and all those others out there watching, this is Midstate 48 driven by Miracle Auto Group. My name is Chris Brooks. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you on Saturday.